It hung 4 feet above the pasture, a sphere the size of a baseball, filled with churning blue liquid. The rancher set the dogs on it, and the 3 of them tore into the brush after that light. Out of the darkness came 3 yelps, each one cut off shorter than the last, and then there was nothing at all. At dawn, we found 3 perfect circles of dried grass, burned brittle into the middle of the field. At the center of each circle sat a mass of black grease, still warm, and I was the one they sent to find the dogs. 2 years before that morning, in the spring of 1994, I was 19 and broke in Ballard, Utah, 15 minutes from a ranch every kid in the basin grew up hearing stories about. The Uinta Basin had been seeing lights since the 50s. A local schoolteacher named Junior Hicks had cataloged hundreds of sightings. To me, it was just something old men talked about. The elders called that land the path of the Skinwalker, and they refused to set foot on it, not even to recover lost cattle. I laughed at that. I needed work more than superstitions. So when Terry and Gwen Sherman bought those 512 acres under the Red Rock Mesa, I got hired the same week they moved in. The porch light came on that first night, and the place almost looked like home. The wolf showed up on moving day. It was 3 times the size of any wolf I'd ever seen, and it came to us calm, gentle, like somebody's pet. It smelled like rotting meat. Then it clamped onto a calf's muzzle through the corral rails. Terry put 4 rounds from a .357 Magnum into it at point-blank range, then 2 more from a hunting rifle. A chunk of its flesh came off. It did not bleed. The animal trotted away like nothing happened. Terry, his father, and I followed its tracks through wet mud for the better part of a mile, until they just stopped. Mid-stride, as if it had evaporated. That same week, my first job was helping clear out the old Myers house, empty after 60 quiet years. What I saw inside didn't mean anything to me then. Then the cattle started dying. 14 head in 20 months, vanished or mutilated. Ears, eyes, udders removed with cuts so clean the vet kept using the word surgical. 1 cow was found with a hole 6 inches wide and 18 inches deep, cored into her body. No blood on the ground. No tracks. No sign of any struggle. Ever. At night, the pastures would light up like a football stadium, every blade of grass throwing a hard shadow, with no source anywhere in the sky. One evening, Terry's son and I heard men's voices 20 feet above our heads, in a language I couldn't place. The dogs growled upward, then ran. I shouted at the empty sky to show itself. The voices went quiet. Then one of them said my name. In April of 1996, Gwen walked past the corral and said out loud how devastating it would be if anything happened to their 4 prize bulls. Less than an hour later, the corral was empty. We found them jammed inside a small metal trailer that could barely hold 1. 4 one-ton bulls packed in like sardines. Imagine you're holding the flashlight. The latch is wired shut. The wire has never been touched. And on the inside of the door, the beam catches cobwebs. Intact. Undisturbed. The door never opened. The bulls stood there hypnotized, and when they woke, they came out frantic, ramming the walls. A month later came the blue orb, and the dogs, and the 3 circles of dead grass you already know about. I knelt in one of those circles. The grease was still warm through my gloves. That same week, the Shermans sold. A Las Vegas aerospace tycoon named Robert Bigelow bought the ranch, and his institute, NIDS, moved in with PhDs, veterinarians, and cameras running 24 hours. The Shermans stayed on as caretakers. So did I. The science had arrived. The ranch didn't care. On the morning of March 10, 1997, we tagged a newborn calf and left him with his mother. Then we went back to work about 300 yards away. Broad daylight. 45 minutes later, the mother was bellowing. We ran. I can still hear how quiet the field was underneath her voice. No birds, no wind, nothing. The calf had been emptied. 60 pounds of flesh and every internal organ gone. 1 ear sliced off with what the lab called 2 different blades, one of them serrated. Not 1 drop of blood. The tag still hung there. Our dog growled once at that spot, bolted, and never came back. Colm Kelleher, the head scientist, said it plainly, "We know of no predator that could have done this." That August, Terry sat me down by the lantern and told me what he'd seen at the Middle Homestead around 2:30 in the morning. His eyes never once met mine. A light had opened in the dark, a tunnel. And through night vision binoculars, he watched a black, featureless figure, maybe 6 feet tall, drag itself out of it. Then the tunnel's investigator beside him looked through the same night vision and did not see the same thing. His photos showed almost nothing. I quit that summer. I didn't really say goodbye. Years later, a NIDS technician called me. In July 2002, the wiring on one of the surveillance cameras had been ripped out. Torn off the pole, connections dismantled, tape shredded. Camera 2 was pointed directly at it the entire time. The tape shows nothing. Whatever destroyed that equipment knew exactly where every lens was. It wasn't hiding from them. It was playing with them. I live a long way from Utah now. Years later, I read that the Pentagon spent $22 million studying what we ran from. It didn't help me sleep. For 30 years under this desk lamp, I have read everything the skeptics wrote, and they make a good case. The FBI's Rommel report explained mutilations decades ago, predators and scavengers. Decomposition gases split the soft tissue, sun-dried edges look like scalpel work, and the blood settles inside the body. That's why the ground stays clean. The Shermans had debts and a mortgage, and they sold after only 2 years. The basin had been soaked in UFO folklore for decades. Suggestion, dark country nights, exhaustion. People see things. Every impossible thing, the wolf, the bulls in that trailer, happened where no camera was running. Even NIDS, after nearly 100 incidents, admitted it never produced a single piece of publishable evidence. James Randi handed Bigelow an award for the most useless study of the paranormal. Our eyes were the only instrument that recorded anything. Eyes are the worst instrument there is. And the piece that let me sleep, Garth Myers, whose family owned that ranch for 60 years before the Shermans, swore that in all that time nothing happened there. Unequivocally, absolutely nothing. For 30 years, I chose to believe Garth Myers. I needed to. But here's what my mind kept circling back to. My first week on that job in 1994. The Myers house. I was the one who helped open it up. There were heavy brass bolts on the doors, on the inside and on the outside. Bolts on the windows. And small padlocks on the kitchen cupboards. The family that saw nothing for 60 years locked their pantry at night. People who have seen nothing do not live barricaded inside their own kitchen. The Myers weren't proof that nothing happened. They were proof that you can live with it for 60 years if you learn the rules and you never speak. The Shermans didn't wake anything up. Nobody taught them where to put the locks. I still sleep with the lights on. It knew my name. I assume it still does. If you want to know what else waits out there in the dark, subscribe. If you ever buy land in the Uinta Basin, check the locks first. Check which side they're on.